Hello, everyone. We are going to be talking all about how to create an amazing webtoon. And so I thought it would be really smart for us to analyze a very popular webtoon that is ongoing right now. And let's kind of figure out like how they crafted their first 3 episodes, how they're hooking readers, what they're doing. Because to be honest, and I'm just throwing this out there, I feel like Love Walk just defies all the advice I give. It's insane to me. But people love this series. And this is just another example of how, telling a story is so different and varies from person to person. So if you are confident in the way that you're telling your story, it does not matter sometimes all of the advice you get. Just stand on your business. Say it with your whole chest and be like, dude, I believe in this story and it's going to work. All right, so with that, just remember to take everything that I say with a grain of salt. You can pause the disclaimer to read it. So we're going to be analyzing each episode 1, 2, and 3, and I'm just going to cover the information as I go through it. It's going to be similar to the past reviews that we did. So I'm going to pull up the Love Walk webtoon, and we're going to scroll through it and talk about it. Also, if you've read Love Walk or you are a fan of Love Walk, let me know what your thoughts are on this series. I'm like extremely curious. So one thing that I cannot comment on is the music, because I'm just going to say this, the music in this series slaps so hard. It's so good. So I want to kind of start with the fact of these opening panels. So I've told you guys before how important opening panels are, how they really set the tone of the story, how they really can build up like interest just from those first few panels, let's say 5 or less. And I feel like this story does that. So this character is talking about the fact that there's one thing that she has to do, and that she has to do every day no matter what. And so I think it's a perfect way to set up something for your readers that's like, okay, what does she have to do? Because the whole time I was reading it, I could not figure out what it was. I was like, what do I have to do every morning? And I was like, talk to your boyfriend? This is a romance webtoon. Like, what is it about? And so she says take her dog on a walk, and we get this beautiful illustration of her walking her dog. I thought that this was a lot of fun because it really sets up the tone of the story, and it really emphasizes like looking at the way the panels are drawn, that there's going to be a lot of humor, there's going to be a lot of fun. Like, don't take this series too seriously in terms of the way it's crafted. Like, it reads very much to me like a rom-com, and you know how rom-coms are, like they're very like outlandish things that happen. It's just like you're there for a good time. You're not there to analyze and dissect like everything that's going on. And so I think how this story sets it up is just so fun. And this panel to me in of itself just really pushes that point, like her sleeping in this bed and this humongous dog. Like, the dog is practically as big as she is, and he's just like taking up all of this space. He's all on top of her, and it's just like so I don't know if it's relatable because, not everybody has a dog, but I think anyone who has a big dog or who has a pet could relate to the fact that, this is very much animal behavior. Andy said, I am a fan of Love for Walk. I really like how it feels like a grounded romance. Like you said about Nana, it feels realistic, pet shenanigans aside. Yes. Okay, so moving on to my next point, I want to say, and I think I kind of touched on this, but by panel 4, we get like a humor shot. So I'm counting these like, this is 1 panel, 2 panel, 3 panel, 4 panel. And I think that's really important. It sets the tone, like I said, so you get your humorous panel. We still haven't seen our MC, like she's kind of shrouded, like it's building up a little, like what does she look like? And we get this really gorgeous shot of our main character, Pam. And I like that it includes her with the dog. It has her not necessarily doing like a glamorous sort of picture, but it really emphasizes who she is and what's going on, which I think that's super important. Building up to the main character, or really putting their personality front and center as the introduction, is super important in any series. And I think this really helped this character to stand out was the whole entire setup. Now, one thing that I will say about the series as a whole is if you really analyze the facial expressions, so I'm including the pets in this, every panel has like such personality where if we took away the words, you could almost tell what's going on without anyone saying anything. Like, look at this. Her reaction here is so strong. His reaction, the dog, is strong. Her reaction here again is strong. Like, all of her facial expressions throughout the comic really indicate a lot of mood and emphasize a lot of meaning and understanding. And so I think the creator really took their time to make sure that, you know, whether it's like meme culture, whether it's, you know, imitating other panels, but really pushing those expressions just conveys so much. And think about the fact that the dog character Bob is a completely silent character, but he has so much personality, so much life that, like, even though he's essentially a mute character, you never hear what he's saying, what he's thinking, the feeling is always there, and you know what's going on in this dog's mind. Like, look at this. Like, look at how cute he is. Look at him wagging his tail, and look at her expression. That's something else I like, is the artist isn't afraid to make the characters not necessarily look all the time glamorous or beautiful, but she has a lot of like these really cute, sort of like almost chibi looking expressions, but they just convey the meaning of what's going on so well. And like, even with this, like, you can just tell she's so happy, she's so excited about her sweet little boy. So it's really important that when you think about your series, like, if we took away the words, could I interpret what's going on, or is it just the floating head syndrome? Because I think the floating head syndrome gets a lot of like people talk about it really badly, but I don't think it's that bad when it's done right. Like, if the characters are like really expressing themselves, really conveying what they mean, what they're saying, I think it's the muted or the repetitive look of the character, like always like either not smiling, having a blank expression, and it just doesn't convey anything, which then it's just like an illustration with words. It's not conveying anything to the audience. So that's something super important to indicate to really help sell your series. Now, this is something that I think everybody kind of is like, show don't tell. Well, I feel like in your first few episodes you're going to have to do some telling, but you need to limit how much telling you do. So for instance, when we get to her being in the office, she's checking her camera that's there to watch the dog or whatever. And so she goes on to talk about, like, they talk about how the dog is constantly damaging the apartment and how he just will not behave. All of this is exposition. Like, yes, it's in a conversation, but it's still something that needs to be told to the audience to help us understand her circumstances and what's going on. Now, the creator did it in a fun way where they included it with another character so that, you know, they're actually having what might seem like a very logical, realistic conversation. Like, if you knew that your coworker, your friend, your schoolmate was dealing with a certain issue, you might bring it up to them in conversation. So then they talk about it, and they're, you know, we get a little bit of our main character's personality as well as the side character's personality to kind of figure out who they are. And so as they're having this conversation, it also brings up the fact that our character has faced a lot of trauma or is dealing with a very traumatic situation. And I want to just say this, like, look at how quick this is. So this is where we kind of flood into the background, where it starts with this black, like this is in the past. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panels. So we got literally 6 panels of backstory, and that's all that's needed for the context of the series. And I think this is where a lot of people go too far. It's like, okay, I need to explain everything. I need the readers to understand like who the ex is. I need them to understand like why we hate him. I need them to understand. And so you wax on poetically for a while about why you hate the the ex or the antagonist or whatever you're doing, but it's really not needed in the first episode. Like, you can just state that the character doesn't like this character for X and move on. Like, 6 panels was enough, and look at the speech bubbles for this. So we get maybe 10 speech bubbles max, and they're all short, direct sentences, like very much setting up the tone. But I will say this as well, a big reason why I think this works, it adds a lot of intrigue, is because we know exactly what the problem is, but why aren't you showing me his face? Why are we not seeing who this man is? Like, I think that builds a lot of interest in the readers, just because of the fact that they're like, okay, so are we gonna see him later? Is there something going on with him? Like, why is this such a mysterious flashback? And I think that's kind of fun for the audience to an extent, and it can just help to like add a little bit more mystery to what's going on. And so we're getting breadcrumbs. Like, don't deliver a full course meal, just little chunks so that the audience can kind of figure out what's going on. Now, that is just a little bit of how like you can add mystery to your romance series. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can just be something like where you're not delivering the whole information, or you're shielding something from the reader that doesn't necessarily even mean anything. Like, this X could be completely irrelevant, but the way it's set up makes me feel like something could happen in the very near future. Now, once we get out of this, we're moving forward, and she's making it back home. We see she's dealing with the same problem again. This is another thing I want to mention too. We saw her mention the problem earlier. Well, she comes back to the problem again. And so we're getting it reinforced, like how bad this dog's behavior is. It's okay to reinforce exposition that you've told or that you've said before, but I don't need you to browbeat me with it, and it needs to be relevant to the story. So, look at these expressions. The expressions are just so good. With barely any words, we can completely understand what's going on. So, here is a perfect setup. So we went from mystery we went to a little bit of comedy, and now we're getting a little bit more of what's going on. So a little bit more mystery. We're getting a tease of the male lead. And I think sometimes a tease can work really well, because like she's showing all the right things, I guess, for her audience. Like, she's showing like, okay, curly hair, tattoos, earrings, that sort of vibe. So like, people might immediately be interested in the male lead just from that. So it's really important to remember that you don't have to always give the audience everything right away. You can tiptoe up to it, because here's the thing. I'm sure the audience already knows what this man looks like from the cover or whatever. And so, or even if like maybe they clicked on this from a banner being on the main page. So they already know what the main character looks like, but still the setup for it is building anticipation, where it's like, ooh, I can't wait for the big reveal. And so, oh, also, we get an ab shot for all of you who are against me and like, dude, why are you always bringing up abs? Because it's seriously a thing. I promise. Like, I swear, it's not just me. Like, I'm not obsessed with abs. Like, honestly, I could deal without them. But this is just something that is always reoccurring in Webtoons. I promise. So, I'm just showing you that even with this character here, like, we get a little bit of the spice. We get a little bit of the, okay, leading man action. And all of this is still teased. So we see him walking up to her, and we still haven't seen the face. And this is something that I think this webtoon does well, especially for romance, is it builds up a feeling before revealing something. Like, it makes you feel something, and then it hits you with a blam. So look at how the comedy is set up for this. It's very rom-com, it's very fun, and we're getting that up and down weaving of like the audience feeling like cute moments, sad moments, curiosity, feeling all sorts of things. And then we make it to this shot here. So it's very much a meet cute sort of moment, which people love. People love meet cutes. It's like, we had this moment and now we're in love sort of vibe. And we still haven't seen his face. Do you see all of these panels? And we still have not seen this man's face. And I think it's just because of the fact that it's just more interesting to hold that back, to let her, like, even when she's talking about him, she hasn't seen him yet. This is very much more like internal dialogue. She's noticing his tattoo, wondering who he is, and then we get what I like to call the money shot. We get the full-blown shot of this man in all of his glory, and now everyone can be, hyped and excited and, like, very into him for no other reason than the way he looks. And that's what the readers want. I'm not gonna lie. That money shot is, like, very intense. So I did want to touch on this too when we're where is it? Is this... Nope. Okay. 1 second. I think it's up above. Oh, yes. So when he catches her, we get an internal monologue, and she's talking about his voice. She talks about how deep it is, and then she talks about the way he smells. And I just want to say this, like, this information cannot be conveyed to the audience no matter what. Like, she has to tell us things. So sometimes, I know the show don't tell thing, you're like, okay, maybe she smelled him. I feel like it makes a little more sense sometimes to just have the character think something than to draw out a panel of her sniffing him. Or for, like, instead of using the onomatopoeia to be like his voice is deep, or, like, add something to his speech bubbles, it's so much easier for her to just say he has a really deep voice. And I think all of this is just, like, really impactful and really sets the stage, sets the mood. Like, tall man, deep voice, smells like vanilla. Like, people eat that up. And you think about in novels, like, oftentimes, like, the five senses are described to the audience, and that can be incorporated sometimes into your webtoon, where you're describing to the audience things about your character that we otherwise would not know. And then if it directly relates to the character, like, maybe they find the voice attractive, or maybe they find the smell attractive, like, all of that is, like, creating the mood for what's going on. Sorry, I was not paying attention to the chat. 1 second. Princess Vlog, sorry, I know this has nothing to do with romance, but my comedy webtoon has 45 panel. Is that too much for my genre? Do you mean for one episode? I mean, I think, what is it, 15? So as long as it has that, it should be fine. Stealthy Mouse, I wouldn't think so, Princess. It would show webtoon. You're able to make a full-size webtoon for oh, okay, you're talking to Princess. Okay. Are you? Yes. See, you guys doubt me. Don't make me go on a, like, craze where I'm hunting down all of the ab showing webtoons. Like, I will do it just to prove my point. Like, I'm being petty about this one. Ash Tree, sure. Apollo, blame webtoon for the ab love. I mean, I'm just talking about in the webtoon. Like, I'm just saying, like, it's a different vibe. Like, I feel like I'm being called out and attacked. Argue the dog is selling the suspense. The dog is selling a lot. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I feel like the dog, for me, carried the full first episode because I was so invested in the animal and what he was doing more than the romance. But that's just because, like I am obsessed with animals. Like, I love animals so much. I love animals probably more than I love people, which is not good, but, like, I just love them so much. And so to, like, see a dog with so much life and personality, I was really hoping that maybe this webtoon would end up being like a Secret Life of Pets sort of thing. It was not, and I'm kind of disappointed about that, but it is what it is. I was really hoping that the animals were the main characters, and the female lead and male lead were in the background. Like they were just there to like have a good time. And the animals were like, can you believe this? They're not together yet. That would have been so funny to me. Okay. OMW, never beating the ab obsession allegation. I'll never beat them. Like, you guys won't let me slide on them, but I'm gonna call them out every chance I get. Like, you guys better believe every webtoon I find where, like, in the first few episodes, the male lead in a romance series is, like, naked. I'm posting it on my stories on social media to be like, listen, you doubted me. Here's exhibit 96. Yeah. The accidental trip and hug no woman can resist. I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't find that romantic, but maybe that's because I'm a dude. Hello, drugs. Look, okay, mid-she for kids. You got a doggo plus that so-called hot guy. The main girl looks dumb, by the way. If you're gonna go thriller in future, I hope you check out Hand Jumper. It's good, more than average. This isn't a thriller. This is a romance series. I was just talking about how, like, in your romance series, you can add in other elements from other genres. Like, you can add in mystery, you can add in action, you can add in adventure, you can add in thriller, horror elements, like whatever you want to add. But I'm saying for a series in its entirety, it's not always just one note. Like, there's going to be things that are mixed into it that make it more well-rounded. So understanding comedy, understanding thriller elements, understanding all of these other genre things can just help to add to your series. Because, like, in a relationship, if I'm being honest, you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have, like, really funny moments, funny conversations, and all of that can help, like, even out the series. Does Webtoons allow cursing for entry submissions, or would that disqualify you? I guess it depends. Can't tell us that I can live alone without people, but I can't live without cats. I agree. Very real. Okay. Let me check my notes real quick. Oh, so after this really intense artistic shot of both of our male or leads, we really get a glimpse into their dynamic. Like, we can see them conversing with each other. You can almost get like an enemies to lovers sort of vibe. You get like another funny moment where she can't control this dog and then he can. So there's just a lot of really interesting things that are set up in the first episode that can all be incorporated into anyone who's entering into the romance genre. Don't just, be one note and just be like, and now they kiss. Like, give me build up to it. Like, let me feel how they feel. Like, let me sit in the desire. Like, don't just give it to me all at once. And give me some really nice panels. I think that's the one thing that the romance genre, like, needs more than other genres is pretty panels. And I know some of you are like, it doesn't, but I feel like it lends itself that way. Like, it really emphasizes, like, maybe like cute looks, like small glances, little touches, like all of that, like the way the character looks at the other character, like all of that can be super impactful. So when we get to this last panel here, she asks him if he can be like take care of her dog, and then he's a girl, and you just can see like the little sparks already starting to fly. And that's why I think the series works so well. All right, so let's look at episode 2. Shachi, the main girl, looks beautiful. Actually, as a woman, I immensely enjoy beautiful women in webtoons. It's kind of like, wow, pretty women, can't resist the charm. I agree. I think that's a draw to webtoons in of itself. Like, pretty characters, especially I would say characters that are like maybe a little more fashionable, maybe a little more, lending towards a more glamorous sort of aesthetic is fun. Like, it's fun for the audience. It's fun for everyone involved that enjoys that genre. Because I think that's like, there's always been the trope of like the makeover sort of thing. And so I think that's something that people just really enjoy. All right, let's briefly touch on episode 2. I yapped for forever about episode 1. So I want to say the setup for this just reads so much like a rom-com, and I think that's the part of the charm for the series is like it knows what it is, and it's not trying to like subvert it. It's not trying to be something else. It's just cute, fun, exaggerated moments that don't necessarily have to be like so serious all the time, and I think that's great. Like the pacing of the story, the bobs and weaves, the ups and downs, the, you know, this is a serious moment, this is now a funny moment, this, like, all of that is just so much. Oh, is my mic giving out? Oh no, I'm sorry guys, I don't know what's going on. I'm not sure what's happening. Is it still bad? No, I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. Let me try and see if I can fix it. Did that help? Is the mic better? I'm trying to see if we're still getting like a bad connection. Okay, I'm getting like different answers here, that it's good, that it's bad. I don't know what's going on. Okay, I'm sorry. Maybe Kentella said that she left the stream and joined again and it fixed it. So I don't know. Maybe try doing that and we can go from there. Sorry about that. Weird, weird. Like, okay. All right, let's look back at this. So episode 2, I feel, is one of the most difficult episodes for anyone because it's kind of a transition episode in a lot of cases, or it's kind of like a little bit more heavy on like what's happening, like it's restating things or is building on those things again. And so I think for a lot of writers, it's really important to focus on what are the important points and what am I trying to say? What am I trying to set up within the first few episodes? So think in terms of how to make the exposition of what you need to say, how to move the plot forward. How can you say that in the most interesting way? And a lot of it in this story is done through dialogue and it's done through inner monologue. And it's just one of those stories where I feel like since a lot's not happening around them and it's very focused on this character's life, there's only so much to say externally, so you have to think about what you can say internally and what's the feeling of the scene. And I think this is set up really well for this series because it's really about her feelings. It's really about his feelings. So it's really important for the um audience to understand them as characters over the plot. So in some instances, I think, you know, you should focus more on the plot. And in other instances, I feel like you should focus more on the character, just depending on how you're trying to set up your story and what's going to be the most important to the overall reader slash audience experience. Now, one thing that drove me crazy about this was when I was reading it, he tells her, he's like, so I'm gonna need $20 an hour. And she's like, I'm gone eight hours a day. And he's like, okay, well, being a trainer is expensive. Like, what do you expect? And it's crazy to me that she agrees to this because $20 an hour for 8 hours times 5 is 800, which means times 4 is $3,200 a month. And I'm like, so you never thought before this instance to hire a professional trainer? And I will stand on this. I will stand on this till the end of time. I don't care what anyone else says. This makes no sense to me and it bothers me. And I just wanted to point it out. It ends up being addressed later and it doesn't happen, but I'm just saying it bothered me so much. But I think it kind of speaks to her as a character, that she's a little bit impulsive. She's very much like, I'll deal with the problem later. And I feel like that's conveyed a lot throughout the story as you read more episodes, that sometimes I think like she just goes with what feels right instead of what feels like, instead of taking a moment and like logically working through like, is this going to be beneficial for me or not? So I do think it's good to establish the character's personality, establish some of their worst qualities in the future, opposed to setting them up where they're completely flawless, because, you know, people are imperfect. People don't make sense. And it is logical to an extent to expect, like, sometimes you're just in the heat of the moment and like you're shopping for something and you impulse buy. And when you think about it later, you're like, why did I spend $500 on a figurine? Like, what am I doing? Like, that money could have gone to something else. Like, do you know how many dinners I could have bought with that? And so I do think, like, to an extent, I understand that. The accountant in me does not and will not. And like, for me, someone who can't like manage their finances well is a complete red flag, which turns me off immediately. But you know what? I guess when you're first starting out dating, you wouldn't know that. But yeah, let me jump off my soapbox on this. But it just drove me a little crazy. So I will say, as the story continues, we get more building on our MC's relationships. Like, we get to understand this character more, her friend at work. We get to understand her relationship more with Tyler, that's the male lead. And it just builds up to introducing a lot of their personalities and fleshing them out as characters. It does introduce a bit of conflict because she created it. Like, a lot of her problems in the first few episodes are directly related to her and what she's doing, which I think sets up perfectly a flawed character. Like, it's so funny to me because sometimes we have these instances where people are like, this is a Mary Sue, she does everything perfectly. And then we have a deeply flawed character where people are like, she's so dumb. But it's also like, okay, like a balance in between the two would just be someone who's like speaking all the time and explaining like logically why they're not making the wrong choice. So I think like making her very realistic in the sense that she isn't hyper logical, or she isn't always like logical first, it really shines to her, the creator, as being a writer that isn't just writing to make her characters do things in terms of like what's the best answer. Like, you're going on a journey with this character, and hopefully this will be something that she overcomes in the future. Like, maybe she'll stop before she does things going forward and makes like logical jumps from, you know, one area to another. Not all the time, but like maybe she'll start seeing like areas where it's like, you know what, I shouldn't get a Tesla. Like, maybe it'll be stuff like that. Now, there are tons of cute expressions in this series, and just every character that's introduced has like so much personality, and it's something that's carried on throughout the series. And I really want people to understand, like, do not underestimate the power of your characters having like cute and fun moments, having like fun expressions. Like, don't be afraid to make your characters look ugly. Like, obviously you want them to look good, but I'm just saying, like, there's so many complex emotions that can be conveyed through expression that, like, if you take the time to like research or look it up, like, you can find it and you can make it work or fit within your style. So just go with it. Like, if you feel like your character needs to look angry, like, don't make a glamour shot. Make them angry. Now, when you look at this episode as a whole, I just want to point this out. Panel 6, panel 8, 12, 15, 16, 26, 35, 42, 61, 72, 80, all the ones that I counted, are all money shots. Like, all of these panels are like very artistic, very like, I spent some extra time rendering on this so that they could be like draw attention, so that people could enjoy or and love the art. That I feel like makes sense to me. And if you were like listening as I listed off of those, you're getting about one glamour, beauty shot, money shot, whatever you want to call it, about every 10 panels. So just think about the fact that, those panels take time. So for all of you who are entering the contest, I feel like you may not be able to do 10. You may not be able to do 20, but you could maybe do 3 to 5 every episode if you're entering into the romance feel, and like really show off the characters. Like, look at this expression. Like, she's sad, she's angry, she's upset. Like, the emotion is just conveyed so good, and the panel is super pretty. Like, don't be afraid to give some glamour shots. Like, make sure that those illustrations really have time to shine and are really, really interesting to the audience. Like, make sure that the audience, it's well worth the audience's time to look at those panels opposed to just like skipping them. Because, like, look at this. Him and this dog, it's a cute panel. People who are interested in like the animal trope, like hot man, cute dog trope or whatever, this is something that I feel like people would stop for a second and look at. So don't be afraid. Do it. Okay, let's talk about episode 3. Oh my god. Also, this is my favorite character. Hands down, greatest character that is in this webtoon. Like, it does not matter to me what anybody says, and I hope that this character does not change in the future, because like everything about this character is perfection. Like, she has the best expressions, she has the best interactions with all the other characters. Everything this character does is basically flawless. Like, there's never been such a good character in existence in my life. So I'm just saying, and this is a very minor character. Like, do not sleep on your minor characters. Like, they could be the ones that keep people reading your series. I'm not gonna lie. I used to be one of those people that often would fall in love with the side characters more than the main characters, because I just felt like they were so much more interesting. All right, so my last thing about that episode. So I feel like if you really think about the episode, does it logically make sense? And I would say no. But that's the fun of a rom-com. Rom-coms don't have to make sense. Like, because this was set up and the way it was told lends itself to be a little more exaggerated. So if you go for a story in the beginning where you're super serious, where you're very like Romeo Juliet, and then you kind of hit all of these exaggerated moments, it's very odd to the audience. Since she sets up from the beginning that this is just like a fun story with cute moments and very like it's almost like if your best friend was dating somebody and they were telling you a story about like what was going on in their relationship, and you're like, okay, that's like super dramatic. Clearly this was embellished, but it's such a fun story. Like, you don't correct them. You just like live in the vibes. And that's what I feel here. You live in the vibes of the story. Yes, the dog is super, super cute. Corpse, are you gonna do this for the horror genre? Yes, if you look at my pre-scheduled streams that everybody requested, I have up each genre for the contest. So I think next week is thriller, I think the week after that is comedy, and then the week after that is action. I feel like I put action last because like I covered so much of the call to action contest. I did 3 videos where we went over the first place, second place, and third place winner, that I feel like that I don't need to cover that one as immediately. So if you have questions about action, those videos are already available. You can watch them now. All right, so the 3rd episode just cements to me that the dogs are the stars of the show. Like, everything about them, look at this. Like, it's just full personality, full on amazingness, and I love it. Like, every moment that the animals are on the screen, I want more of it. I eat that up. But the creator, I feel like, knows how fun and how much people love the animals, that we only get little breadcrumbs, little drops of them here and there. I also want to say, by this episode, I think you can really feel the sparks are starting to fly between the male lead and the female lead. You see a lot of blushing, a lot of like, cute glances between the others, a lot of like internal monologue where the character is like, I like this character. Like, look at this. Like, it's so cute. And the paws are like essentially hearts. Like that's so cute. So I think there's so many fun factors for the audience that it just sets up everything nicely. So you get those cute moments, which are fun for the audience. You get the cute banner, which is fun for the audience. You get like immediately the setup clearly of the trope. You get like the male lead is kind of charming. Like all of that is just fun for the audience to enjoy. And basically the whole time that you're reading it, you're like, okay, and now kiss. Where's the kiss? Are y'all gonna kiss yet? Please kiss. Now kiss. So that's where I'm just saying, like, sometimes the story doesn't have to be so exaggerated. Not exaggerated. What's the right word? The story doesn't need to be so like bam, bam, bam. Like very quick. Like you can in this genre, I feel like you can live in the moment. You can live in setting up all of the story. And in episode 3, we do get more backstory. We get some of the exposition is reinforced from the first 2 episodes. We circle back to the fact that she has a bad dog. We touch on her love life. We touch on the fact that she has a bad ex. Like all of that is reinforced and retold to the audience again, but it's told in different ways, or it adds on to what we already know. So it doesn't feel like it's dragging for the audience as a whole. So I think that's really, really important to understand. And I will say, once we get down here to this, oh, where is it? This is the end of the episode, and it's literally just her talking to the dog and her, like, how she feels about everything. And is this a good cliffhanger for the 3rd episode? Apparently people really liked it. I personally do not feel that it's a good cliffhanger. I feel like it's a soft cliffhanger for an episode 3, but I would need to like really dig in deep to like more romance or more like new romance series to see if that's true. And I wanted to also point this out with this last panel. Could we remove this bubble of text? I think so. And could we remove this bubble of text? I think so. And so we would just get this expression of her looking, maybe looking, and we get like the mood, like very longingly, like she's like swooning sort of thing. And I think that could work, but I feel like the text just adds to the scene, adds to what's going on. And some people might disagree with that and be like, no, the text needed to be cut. But I think from a reader perspective, it just puts me more in line with how she's specifically feeling and how like I understand where she's coming from or what she's trying to do. So from reading all 3 episodes of the first 3 episodes of the series, I think the big appeal for this is it's very audience focused. There's a lot of fun with the dogs. There's tons of vibrant and pretty colors, and it's very wholesome. Like it's a very wholesome, like healthy type of relationship, healthy type of meet cute. Like both characters are very like understanding towards the other. Like there's no red flags, only green flags for both of them. So I think it's like that's also a little bit refreshing on the webtoon side when we have like all of these like Empress, Duchess type stories where the characters are like betrayed or backstabbed. And so this is like a palate cleanser type. So I think it works. Now I will say, if you read beyond this, there's tons of like small and little hooks that the reader does, or the creator does, for the readers. And so I think if you're not going to go with a really strong hook, you should have multiple hooks out there. Like you're fishing with like 20 rods and you're like hoping that one of these like snags the reader. So I think that's really, really important too. So that's pretty much all that I wanted to cover from the series. I'll take a few questions if anybody has any, but I would definitely say check out this series as well as Mafia Nanny. Mafia Nanny is probably my preferred because the plot and the romance are fun to read for me, but I'm just not a full on read only romance, read only about how the characters feel. I like something else to be going on. So that's where I say, like, just take my advice with a grain of salt. Like, everything I say does not necessarily is the end all be all or the truth of everything. It's just my opinion, my perception of things, how I judge things. And, as a writer, as a creator, trust your instincts sometimes. Like, is it nice to get someone to co-sign off on your plan? Sure, but it's not always going to be the thing that you necessarily need someone to do. Sometimes you just need to be like, yep, this is going to work because I said it is. Stealthy Mouse said, I wonder how the audience would take a scary mood shift cliffhanger panel for the final panel on the third episode. I don't know if a scary mood type panel would have worked at the end there, unless something had been set up beforehand that made more sense. I guess, like, you could have set up that she is afraid to move forward because of her past relationship, but I feel like she had such a good moment with the characters earlier that would kind of turn me off, and I would kind of feel like, oh my god, are we going to go through a long back and forth of will they, won't they? Like I don't like stories that drag on that long. Like, yes, I want them to not necessarily immediately get together, but I also don't want them to be sitting in limbo for 20 years. Velt said, one thing I see a lot in real life, but not in webtoons, is people actually flirting. Just the blushing and hearts going bodum. Yeah, I think this series has some good flirting moments sometimes. I think it's kind of hard to write flirting in general because people think it's cringe. I think I talked about this in the, like, writing a romance series. Like, people think it's cringe, but I'm like, no, people like that. Like, and to be honest, that's how people flirt. Like if you listen to anyone flirting in front of you, you're gonna be like, this is weird. So yeah, write some cheesiness. Like, give me the cheese. I want some Gouda, please. This series reminds me of early Lore Olympus with Hades' dog for some reason. I can't speak on that because, like, I haven't read, like, the first few episodes of Lore Olympus in a while, but I mean, hey, if you think so and it's a hook for you, then great. Stealthy Mouse said, for most feels entry. Oh, like, are you saying for yourself? Like, can you elaborate on that? OMW said, I think that if the scary mood thing is going to be a reoccurring thing in your series, it may work. If it's just a one-off instance, you may want to reconsider it. I think you could do it for shock value, just depending on how the scene goes. Like it really depends. Like, I'd have to hear, like, the whole plan. Are you said, hot take, I read a couple of romances like I'm the queen in this life. They are really good to study the webtoon audience. My hot take is that I cannot stand a webtoon where the male lead is needy emotionally. Really? That's interesting. Because I feel like both characters have to be emotional for it to be a good romance. Like, otherwise, he's just like a plank. She fell in love with a plank. Oh wow, OMW said, I prefer the male leads to have their own thing going on. I want both characters to have their own thing going on. Like, I hate characters that are just, like, full on invested in their relationships. I'm like, you don't have nothing else going on. You don't have a hobby. You aren't aspiring to be anything. Like, you don't have a passion. Like I get, like, there are passions that are directly related to, like, having a partner, but I also feel like I would want so much more from my own personal life, and maybe that's me self-projecting. So I don't know. I just don't like that type of story. Like, I want people to be doing their own thing, and I want, like, their partners to be supportive of them doing their own thing and be like, yeah, my wife's a world-renowned chef and blah, 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 blah. Stealthy Mouse said, I was more thinking for my own story, since it's romance supernatural, was going to end with the first visual of a demon for the series with a detailed zoom in on the face. Oh, if it's a supernatural romance, makes sense. Do it. That makes complete sense. I think, like, like what is it, Unholy Blood or whatever, does stuff like that. So that makes sense. Like that's completely different. Like this is like a normal, no superpowers, no supernatural relationship. So also, I'm cycling through the slides. That's why the Q&A thing is not up, so that if people wanted to see them, they could see my notes, so that like you can take screenshots of them. That's why it's not on the Q&A banner right now. Like I wasn't about to run through episode 1, episode 2, episode 3 because I didn't really see the need to do it for this one. I felt like we covered a lot of stuff already. I could if you guys really wanted me to, but I'm not doing it for this one unless requested. Hope. On flirting, I think the manga Veil does this well. For reference, you can check it out. Okay, I will definitely check that out. Writing down Veil and I'm the queen in this life is great. Okay. For real, they just cease to exist when the female lead is not around, like that Patrick meme. Oh, absolutely. Like, it's like they have nothing else going on in their life except to show up at, like, her beck and call. And I'm just like, bruh, you can't be like, I'm busy right now. I'm like, I don't know, I'm a tattoo artist and I've got a client. Like, you're always there, like, always free. It drives me insane. Andy, I'm semi-upset with myself that I didn't plan to insert abs earlier in my comic. At the earliest, abs would only appear in episode 4. Listen. You do not have to have abs in your series. I think it's just a fun factor that the audience does like and enjoy. But see, here's the thing. If you're going to insert the abs, they've got to be like top tier. Like they can't just be like, you know, below top tier. Oh, you guys are cracking me up. John, I hate it when the lead falls in love with each other for their looks and don't expand on that. Like, they don't gain more depth for the reason why they like each other besides they look attractive. Well, I do think attraction's really important in any type of relationship, like even IRL. Like you should feel some sort of attraction to your partner, like other than mentally. So I understand why a lot of webtoons start off that way. I think the only way that it would work where they're not physically attracted in the beginning is if they were friends before, or if they were like known for something, like they both worked in the same field, like a co-worker type relationship, and then it developed from there. So, and even with that, I still feel like attraction plays a big part. But I totally get what you're saying. I do agree that, like, if I'm going to be on this journey with them for over like 30 episodes, it better like elaborate more on why they're together than like she looks good on my arm or like he can pick me up. Like, bruh. Okay, you guys are cracking me up. Y'all are like, maybe I should add abs too. You don't have to. Like, as long as your leading characters are attractive, I think you'll be okay. Like, if you're gonna add in an ab shot, like it better be a good one. Like, don't just add in one for funsies. OMW, I should plan it out too. Have the male lead work his 9 to 5 job while shirtless. Oh, that would be hilarious. So, funny story about that, OMW. When I was doing the Evil Fitness, like my practice webtoon that I have, one of the characters is like a jock character and he's like the office manager, and I was trying to decide if he like showed up in a tank top, if he showed up like without a shirt on, or what he did, and I finally just went with the like really tight button up. But it was funny because the whole time I was sitting there like, okay, I should just draw him shirtless. I didn't. I added the shirt. Oh, Andy, you're cracking me up. You're like, I'm a good ab drawer, I swear. Okay. I can't wait to see them. That's what I should do. I should do a video where I rate abs. Like that, since you guys are on me about that, be expecting that to come soon. Drugs. I was giving Hand Jumper as a suggestion for Thriller. When you will do the genre, it's good. Oh, gotcha. I actually love Hand Jumper. I think it's really good. Like 10 out of 10. Like It had me hooked from like episode 1. It was such a good series. Da, 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 da. Psycho, we don't stand for mediocre abs in this house. Exactly. This house is built on good looking abs. Drugs, by the way, agree if you are showing characters, you need to explore more about them as well, not revolve them around another character. Layers, stuff is necessary. I 100% agree. Like, please, like, have your character have some sort of interest other than the lead. Like, I think that's really attractive in general. Like, a character, like if you craft a character that's doing their own thing, that has their own thing going on, like that's a lot of fun. I can understand there are people out there that like don't have any other hobbies, like they just kind of hang out with friends or something like that. uh, and I can see how someone could write that. I just feel like that's a little boring for the character. Listen, those buttons were holding on for dear life in that series. It's super funny. Like every time I think about that practice webtoon, I'm just like, this is hilarious. I love it. I love it so much. It's so bad. It's so bad. Stealthy Mouse wasn't going to have abs, but have the perfect rip shirt scene that can become one just for you, Pantheon. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna. Y'all have awakened the beast, and I will be making that ab video very soon. Mine is a supernatural thriller, so abs would be so random. I don't know. I mean, are they shape shifting into werewolves? Like, I mean, they could be ripping off their clothes as they transform. That's very normal. Very normal. Panalan, I'm just gonna give my MC a crop top so you always see the halves. So fun story. So in the series that I'm working on for the contest, one of the main characters, he literally has like, it's not a crop top, it's like a crop jacket. So you get to see his abs the whole time. You guys are gonna roast me when y'all see the characters for Queen's Game. You're gonna be like, Apollo, we know what you're doing here. I'm like, that's right. That's right. I'm testing it for myself. I'm doing it for science, y'all, to find out if the Webtoon community truly values abs or not. Episode 2, my character's in pajamas. I guess the shirt can be unbuttoned. I think it depends on style though, Kentella. Like, I feel like your characters are all super cute. Like, I feel like the vibe wouldn't be right for them to like have abs. I've got to see the character designs. Like, maybe you're drawing something different, but oh no, I know I'll never live it down. Like, I feel like on like, if I ever get invited to do like any sort of webtoon events, they're gonna be like, and the creator obsessed with abs, who has a PhD in abs, who, if you look up webtoon abs in the dictionary, you'll find his face, Apollo. Like, I'll never live it down. I don't have one up, but I can put one up, Andy. Andy said, "Is there a reference picture for my character for my little avatar?" I don't have one up, but I'll put one up so that you can see it. I'll post it on my community tab. Dustin, hello. First time catching your stream. Quick question. My comic is action slash fantasy, but the main theme is love. Which category should I enter for the contest? This has been on my mind. I have no clue. Like, I need more context than it's an action fantasy with the main theme as love. Like, thematically, like a theme can mean that that's the overall meaning of the story. I don't know what your first 3 episodes look like. Like, do you even touch on the theme of love in the first 3 episodes? Like, is it about feeling or is it about the action? Like, okay, guys, this is something that I need to make a video on. The judges are only going to see your first 3 episodes. So if your first 3 episodes fits a different genre better than the genre that it actually is, enter the other genre. It does not make sense to enter the romance genre if your first 3 episodes is like characters fighting. That makes no sense. So like, for instance, if you read, I think it's a webtoon called Black Sun. It's about like ninjas or something, and like in the first few episodes, it's this like the mom character, I can't remember, it's been a while since I read it, but like she's giving birth, and like the dad is like trying to protect like the village or whatever, or protect the people from like destroying the homeland, and he's doing it because he loves his wife and he loves his child and he wants to protect them, yada yada yada. It would not make sense for that series to be added into the feels or romance category. They should enter into epic or action, even though the story is about like him loving his family and him sacrificing himself and all of that stuff. It does not make sense for it to be in feels, in my opinion. Could it be very emotional? Yes, but it fits another genre better. Are you? Tell us more about your webtoon entry. Want to see? You can subscribe to my Patreon. You can be a free member. I have 3 videos posted of me working on it. Or 2 I can't remember how many videos. There's one video where I kind of cover a bunch of the like character designs, the characters, the plot, and all of that stuff, and you get to see like what I've been working on. So you can get all the info there. Maybe I'll do a public stream about it here soon, but probably not until March. Millie, my Melly doesn't show his abs, but you can tell he's bulky. Is he like refrigerator bulky? Because that's important. Are you? Did you say that it was on your Patreon? I still keep meaning to check it out. I try not to go on Patreon because I always spend money. Okay, yeah. So that's the thing about that. A lot of content on my Patreon is free, so you don't have to spend any money, and you get extra access to videos that I post only on there. So like all of my Queen's Game stuff, all of my Webtoon entry stuff, I've been posting on there of what I've been working on. So you can see like actual stuff. Some stuff is behind the paywall because obviously I have to give other perks to people who actually pay, but there's a lot of openly free content. What are your thoughts on characters involving in sexual actions when they have not shown the reason of attraction? For example, Savage Romance. Not gonna lie, the character's 8, but still. I mean, I guess it just depends on the reason. I don't know. And I've never read Savage Romance, so I'd have to like look it up and read it. What's the name of your first webtoon? I'd love to read it. It's only 1 episode. It's called Pinnacle Roofing, or Welcome to Pinnacle Roofing. I don't know. I can link it if you want. Like, there's a video about it on the channel where I roast it. But yeah. It's like just a setup. Like, I was trying to learn how to like do paneling, do bubbling, that sort of thing. It was 1 episode. I was pretty proud of it, and so I posted it. I'm still kind of proud of it. I thought it was fun. Sanya, should I make a reading group if anyone wants to join? Yeah, most definitely. Discord group. If you're asking me about my Discord group, I'm still on the fence. I really need someone to moderate it for me, and the people who I was talking to about doing it are seeming less reluctant now, and I don't know why. So if I can find someone to moderate for me, to like oversee things for me, then that would be great. Because otherwise it'll just be like really chaotic, and I feel like it won't be a good experience for a lot of people. So I'm sorry. Oh, nice. I'm glad you found it. Perfect. Oh, guys, you guys are killing me. Okay, so that is going to be it for today's stream. Thank you so much. My question to the community is, what are your thoughts on Love for Walk? I would love to know. I really want you guys to let me know your honest opinions. If you enjoyed it, didn't enjoy it, why you liked it, why you didn't like it. Like, do you think the characters look good? Do you think they look, you know, interesting or different from normal characters, and that's why it's appealing? Like, I just want to know all the details. Oh, also, like, I'm still battling with the Q&A, but I kind of like it. Like, I know people are like, I don't watch the Q&A, but I feel like for the live streams, it's just good. All right, my creator shout out goes to Lost and Found. You can pause the screen to read the description of the series, but it looks like a super fun series. Like lots of adventure, lots of fun. And just a quick note to the creator of the series, this is not like I'm trying to shame you or correct you or any of that stuff. But when I typed in Lost and Found, over like 900 webtoons popped up. So it took me like, I think you're on page 4 or something, but it took me a minute to find it. So I don't know if that's something like you're aware of or not, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Oh no, I forgot to put in fan art. So, I received some fan art recently that I wanted to share with you guys. There was another image, so I showed one last time, but hopefully I'll remember for next video. But here's a little fan art corner that I've got going. So if you do decide to draw anything, just send me your information and I'll make sure to include it in my next stream. Okay, bye bye.